Well, I have constantly brought up to people the fact that in New York, and as somebody who's on the New York Acupuncture Board in New York State, I realized that the number of schools that have popped up that certify people to practice acupuncture in New York is clearly outpaced the number of, I would say, even new medical schools. So, for instance, in New York, the New York area, Long Island, there are probably about 10 medical schools, as opposed to in the last 30 years, there are about 6 schools of Chinese medicine that are able to certify people and be recognized by the state. So you're really
Hmm.
talking about a foreign medical technology that's actually taken root, which speaks volumes to what it is that it's addressing and its affinity, that the population has developed with it. And it also suggests that there might be something that's really missing or not being addressed within an allopathic medical framework.
I think that's accurate.
Right. Why don't we discuss one other case, just so people get an idea about your work and approach? And I'm curious if there's anything that highlights more of the Bankston approach.
Yeah, that is something I am looking to work in more on its own in my practice right now. Something that highlights it is, well, for instance, an interesting case that steps outside of the human range of treatment and more into a veterinary approach, perhaps. But a friend of mine has a cat with cancer, my herbal teacher, and I've been applying the Bankston technique within the framework of the studies that he's done, in a sense, on her animal for at least a month, and have seen really great results so far in what we've been doing. If you're unaware, or if your listeners are unaware, the Vexin Method, basically he cut his teeth doing research on cancer, especially a mammary cancer within mice that's very well known, and has some amazing results, and some of his data even shows that the mice have been cured through the application of this technique.
And Frank, if I remember that experiment, these mice were genetically programmed that they would develop cancer after 27 days. And
Yes, it was that they would develop the cancer and then all of them will die between
right,
14 and 7 days. And in thousands of experiments that they've done up until this point, they have all died by day 27. So it was very well documented in that regard.
right, and obviously he broke that cycle.
He broke that cycle, and to me, it's one of the most amazing data points that I've come across in any healing technique. And we should be very grateful that there's somebody like Bill out there who is determined to see the experimental and research side of things through to the end as far as he can. In debt for what he does, for sure.
So it's funny because I actually interviewed him as well, and
Right.
I kind of left off, well, what's happening with human beings here? And of course,
Hmm.
I know that he's done some work, and I've spoken with one of his other students, and speaking to you, and so I'm just curious to see how you guys actually use that method then to
Well, it's
interface with people.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. And I wish I had a better case study for you as far as the Bankston method is concerned, but I've mainly been using it in conjunction with acupuncture so far. I do have plans to develop an approach to work with people, and maybe that gets into the next part of your program. But it involves a sort of a new way of envisioning how people learn to heal and how they share that with one another. I will say that I'll hold it up now, a banana here, which I mummified. I don't know, can you see that?
I think what happened is your picture is actually frozen on my
Yeah,
screen.
I noticed that froze yours also. So,
Right. So, I mean, you're still here and talking, so that's fine because that's what's important.
okay, I should have
But
done my show and tell earlier. But I'm holding up a banana that has been mummified. And I don't know if you got into this area of his research, but with the Bankston technique, if done correctly, you can mummify a banana. And
you want to break
it's
that down?
what's that?
You want to break that down when you say mummify a banana? What exactly?
So If you start with a green banana and you apply the technique in a pulse manner, meaning many times, several times, 7 times, however many you want to do it throughout a day for however many minutes that you decide your protocol should be. If you do that every day for, say, 10 days, the green banana will skip the process of autolysis, it seems, and become a mummified, completely dark, almost black, shriveled, very hard object, which is mummified.
I
This is
got it.
not.
I
I've
got
had
it.
it for several months now.
A
It
picture
is
would be
sitting on my
worth
shelf.
a picture would be worth 1,000 words here.
It would be.
Right. So basically, that becomes one way you can gauge your facility with the technique.
Yes, and I think
Right.
it's important to
Right.
experiment in this way because otherwise we can get lost in the realm of spirituality and consciousness without perhaps having anything
Mm.
that is discernible from a scientific perspective.
Right.
And for me, those two places are coming together in a very important way. And anything that is worth its salt from the level of consciousness and spirituality is going to have some sort of correlative on the scientific level, I believe.
Right. Well, that's excellent, and I'm sure we'll come back to you at some point to hear more about that. You alluded a minute ago to um, one of my initiatives around a global healing network, in which we kind of we have healers around the world working with these kind of, I would call, vibrational frequencies to help heal the environment and to help heal people. And I'm curious of your thoughts about that.
Well, I'm glad you asked because while I love what I do, I think that the future of energy medicine and information medicine, energy healing, whatever you want to call it, lies in places that we're only starting to discover that I believe are more community-based and network-based. And in my mind, there's always going to be this glass ceiling as a practitioner between how many people can you see in a day. Even when you work at a facility that is run to administrative perfection, that has 14 treatment rooms and case managers, and I worked like a place like that in Rhode Island, and we saw 450 visits a week between 3 doctors of Chinese medicine.
Wow.
Yeah, you'd be interested in this place. Anyway, there's still such a limitation to how many people can be helped because it's not peer-to-peer. It's always so responsive. It's responsible for the practitioner, the clinician, the doctor, whoever it is, to be the focal point for treatment. So
right. I can only imagine.
Yeah, in the global healing networks that you envision and that I envision, I see it as more peer-to-peer, where we recognize that these techniques are eminently teachable, as Dr. Vexin has proved, that they are best used in a community setting, that there may not be a limit to the number of people that can be involved, and there's no limit to the distance between people who are working together with these type of healing techniques. And that's something that comes back to research done on distance healing and remote healing and things of that nature, which does not involve you talking on the phone with anybody, but of course you can just heal somebody by thinking about them.
Right, and this certainly is a topic that we're going to have more to talk about at another point in time. It's something that we actually utilize even now in terms of pranic healing, and we just kind of want to get more into some of the science of that, talk about biogeometry and any number of other things that actually address healing on that level.
Yes.
But for today, thank you, Justin. And why don't you share whatever contact information you would like to share?
Okay. So once again, my name is Justin Deichman. I practice acupuncture here in upstate New York. You can find my website at medicineandhealing.com. And you can also contact me at medicineandhealing@gmail.com. There's no spaces. It's all one word.
Okay. Well, again, thank you, Justin, and we'll be talking.